So this is the actual shading demo. Thank you guys for being so patient with actually getting it done. I decided to just make my own chart because I assume the majority of you are probably doing that. So I used my ruler, made the chart. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should be the same as the chart that's printed out. I put my name on it just because I'd like you to put your name on it. And then I'm going to go from dark to light. So for the first one is pencil. The idea is, and I saw it on the chat, fill in the entire square. So the first one is just to get you having a feeling on how this works. It's not any technique per se. I just want you to like color in the entire square with pencil. Okay, so remember when I was talking about it, the two things that you always have to pay attention with shading are the pressure, so how hard you're pressing, and how many times you're overlapping. So that's called layering. Obviously, when you're doing this darkest square, you want to do both a lot of pressure, so you're pressing pretty hard, and you're layering. If you want to shade effectively, those are pretty much the two things you have to master. And that's why we start off with pencil, because it doesn't require you to really think about any other techniques but those two things. Okay, so I've colored this in. This is pretty dark. So this one is going to be very, very light. I like to work from one side to the other. So for this one, I'm just going to do very, very, very light pencil lines that you could probably barely see. Okay, and then the middle one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, these middle ones are going to be medium. I think I have one extra square than you guys do. Don't worry about that. I'll just skip one. What you want here then is this one is going to be medium. So your middle one, which would be like directly in the center, is going to be like this kind of color. Okay, so the idea is on yours, you should have dark, space, medium, space. Actually, I can just do it this way. Don't mind me. So this will be my medium one. Okay, and then light. So I'll just... All right. So I like to work this way. I find it's a lot easier because then you just have to go in between. So what I can do is I'll extend the medium one out and I'll just fill it in like this. And then all I have to do is keep adding pressure and layers so that the darkness or the value is in between these two. So I just kind of keep going over top of it. Then pull back and look and be like, no, it's still, I think it's still a little too light. So I'm going to go over top of it again. Okay, so now if I look back, you want to kind of lean back away from it to make sure that you can see dark to light. So it's got to lighten up. Obviously, this one is going to be practically white. So then this one has to be lighter. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did over here. I'm going to extend it out from this medium square, but I'm going to go very lightly. I want to go as soft as I can, just to make sure that I'm not going too dark. It's a lot harder to go from something dark, like if you colored the square in dark, and then to try and lighten it up, than it is to go the opposite way. So if I look, that's pretty light. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to adjust this square then. I'm going to make this a tiny bit darker so that it's a smoother transition. Okay, so for me, that's pretty good. What I'm seeing here is dark, lighter, 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 and then super light. And I can even, again, color this in a little bit. So for the rest of these, I'm not going to do all of them in front of you, just because that would take forever. I'm just going to do the darker ones so that you can see the technique, and maybe go to the middle ones. So I won't fill in these little guys on the either side. So smudging is easy. As far as this technique goes, you shade it in, same way you would with the top one over there. Another thing you want to remember to do while you're doing this is to tidy up your edges. So always use your eraser. Make sure, try to stay as clean and as in the squares as possible. A lot of this is trying to learn a little bit of control. Let me see if I've got, yep, I got some. So this is where the Q-tip comes in. I've got a Q-tip. Usually you would use something called a stomp. We have those in class. Let's see if I have one swinging around here. I usually do. Nope, not today. Oh well. Alright, so what you do then is you just take the Q-tip and you can smudge it out. You can also use your finger, but it gets really messy. So the downside of it getting really messy is that when you go from one to the other, it might be harder to control because you have all that graphite on your finger. So the other thing with smudging, make sure that it's clean. Okay, smudging can go everywhere. You want to just try to be as controlled as possible. Same thing you did on the other one. We're just going to pencil that in, that medium tone. The cool part is now that you have one, you can actually match it. Okay. Okay, so now that that's in there, I'm going to take the Q-tip and smudge it out. Okay, so you should see the texture change. It should be like a smoother texture. That's what we're going for. All right, and then this is a cool thing. So I've got graphite on here. What I can do is just go into the lightest area and use the graphite that's on there to color it in. So that I don't have to actually like go on with the pencil. Because that graphite's already there, I can just color that in nice and easy. Again, clean up those edges. Always clean up those edges. And then just do the same thing with the other ones. Again, match it. You can match it to this color that's above it, or the shade, I should say, that's above it. Q-tip. Okay, so here's where it gets tricky with the smudging. You run the risk of making it all one tone. Okay, so you have to just be a little careful when you're doing this to make sure that your darks are still darker. Okay, so this is still darker than this, and that it slowly lightens up, and that these two colors aren't too similar. I think they're okay because when I look at them, I can see the separation, like I can see the value separation. But if you're looking back and it looks way too like similar, it looks like this is all one color or one shade, just add or take away. And if you need to take away, you do that with your eraser. So you just generally take the side of your eraser and you lightly go over top. Then once you've done that, you can re-smudge it in. Okay, scumbling. So I'm going through this pretty fast because you can re-watch this once I'm done. So you can always like go back and pause. But scumbling, like we said, are circles. This is really easy. So you just kind of loop your pencil. Okay, again, a lot of this assignment is about maintaining that control. Medium one. So this is both control, layers, and pressure. I am not pressing hard. This is the pressure I would use if I'm just normally writing, like I'm not trying to push my pencil into the paper. I'm just like, writing notes. And then this one obviously is like when your elementary school teacher said like feather pencils. This is what you're doing. Circle, 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 circle. Okay, same technique as the other ones. You want to fill that in. Okay, that's too light for that box, so we're going to go over it again with another layer. Okay, sometimes hold your paper back or lean back away from it to make sure that this looks dark and this looks light. Again, it should look like it's getting lighter as it goes along. Okay, I'm going to save stippling for the very last because this one takes forever. We'll just do cross-hatching next, and then I'll come back to stippling. So, cross-hatching, like I said, it's crisscrosses. So think about hashtags, number signs. Okay, so your darkness here is going to come from going over and over and over, so layers. It almost looks like if you've seen a piece of fabric close up, it looks like that because it's a weave. Cross-hatching is going to be something that you're going to use when you're doing the culminating because cross-hatching works really well with ink. And like I said before, a lot of it is how many overlaps you go and how close they are together. So this one, because it's the lightest, they're going to be farther apart. Okay. Okay. Hatching, even easier. Okay? Just straight lines. This one's going to be more pressure. Okay, none of the crisscrosses. You have to go in the same direction every time. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it goes vertical or horizontal. You can even use little dashes like I'm doing here. But the idea is it doesn't crisscross. It just goes straight. It's a little tricky. Especially trying to get all the edges in. All right, so I think that looks like a pretty easy progression. The last one is stippling. This one is the most annoying one. It takes the most time. Like I said, it's dots. So you're literally doing that over and over and over and over until you fill up the entire square. Again, takes forever. It's how many dots are overlapping, how close they are. I'm not going to do all of it. That's why I did it at the very last, because you could just sit here and watch me do this for 20 minutes. So let's say this one was done and you feel it's finished. Before you hand it in, what you need to do is take your eraser, clean it up. Okay, make sure that your smudges aren't going everywhere, that everything is fine. We're gonna leave color blending open till the very end. I'll come back and I'll finish this with color blending. But once you're done, make sure you're stippling everything. Everything is neat. And if you hold it far away from you, it does look like it's going from dark to light. You have to lift these things and hold them away from your face so that you can get a good idea of what they are. All right, so I'm going to pause the demo for this. I'm going to post this one so people can see it. And then I will do a second demo for the rest of the color blending.